So my name's Joe Sealey. I'm on the Housewives of Cheshire, and I also have a podcast now called A Husband and a Housewife that you can listen to on YouTube and Spotify, which I'm really enjoying. But in my life, I've been... Do you want me to start at the beginning, or just what I do now?
You tell me what you're comfortable with.
Okay, so I left school at 16 and I played professional football for West Ham United Football Club, and I got injured early on, in my early 20s, and I struggled with severe mental illnesses after that for a long time. But I, at the same time, was running a sports agency business, which we sold 6 years ago to an American group. And then I suffered again with some more mental illnesses because I wasn't working or doing anything day to day. I literally had a lot of money and I weren't doing nothing. And then I set up a couple of gyms a few years ago that have kept me occupied. And then we've got investments in a number of other businesses, and Nicole runs, and I help her with quite a large recruitment company. So that's what I do.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You know, you've done so much, a lot more than me. So when did you first start football?
So I started football when I was 8 years old, 10 years old. My father was a professional football player for clubs like Manchester United and Aston Villa, West Ham United, Coventry, Luton. He played 500 top tier games and won a couple of Premier Leagues, a couple of FA Cups, a European medal at Man United. And so I was around football my whole life, and it was the only thing I ever really wanted to do. I loved it.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I don't know if I didn't care about school. I now know I've got ADHD. But back then I thought I just couldn't concentrate. I couldn't get it. But when I played football, I could.
Yeah.
Like I can do it now. I can play football and I can zone out everything else because I'm playing football. But I can't do it in any other part of my life. And I think it comes from just caring about it that much. And the adrenaline in your body overtook my ADHD, because stimulants obviously help ADHD and calm you down. It's the opposite. So, that was it. So I started football at an early age, and I thought that was the only thing I was going to do. And then I got injured. Then I was told I could never play again. Not at a top level.
Yeah. So how did that feel when you were told that?
It was horrendous. So I got injured when I was 16 the first time. I kept dislocating my shoulder, and I was a goalkeeper. And in the end, I had a reconstruction. They cut me all the way around. I had a bodysuit that I wore for a year that I couldn't take off. And when they took it off, I then couldn't move my arm. It took another 6 months to get my movement back, and I missed the whole season. And they said to me, if it happens again, i.e. if you dislocate your arm again, you're finished. And I was fine for a couple of years, and I was just training one day, and I dived on a ball, and my shoulder went pop. And I instantly knew I was finished.
Yeah.
And do you know what happened to me? And not many people know, some people do, some people don't. I got the injury. 2 weeks later, my dad died.
So for you then?
Yeah, so he wasn't there for me. And my dad was like more the disciplinarian who helped me in my life more than my mum. Like I really love my mum, and she's a really nice person, but my dad was a footballer. That's what I was doing. He helped me in my career. He helped me in my personal life. He helped me with everything. And so I lost my football, which gave me discipline, and I lost my dad that gave me discipline. So I was left at 20, not knowing anything about life except for football. And when you play football, people do things for you. Like, you need to turn up at 9 o'clock here. We're going to give you breakfast. You're going to train. You're then going to have some lunch and you can go home. And then Friday you're going to do this, and we're going to travel here, and here's your tracksuit, and here's your boots, and here's your gloves, and all this stuff. And then I'm thrown into the world with loss of a parent and no career, and that affected me. I now know more than anything in my life. At the time, I didn't realise, and it probably took me 7-8 years to realise what effect that had on me.
Yeah.
It had a massive effect on my mental well-being, my behaviour, my generally how I acted in life, things I wouldn't have dreamt of doing, I was doing, and I severe illnesses really I never knew about, and it was horrendous. I just never knew it at the time. I was suffering in silence.
And what did you do to get out of that darkest time? As you've just said, you were suffering in silence. What did you
Yeah,
do? You could see yourself climbing the stairs back out.
I mean, I suffered, I'll be honest, and I do talk about this, I suffered with severe drug addiction during that period. I got addicted to cocaine, really, and that I used that, you know, I now know that I was self-medicating to take that feeling away because it was removing how I felt.
Yeah.
I was like that for about 6 years, and then eventually you get to a point where that's not working anymore, and you're getting older, you've still got the same problems you had from when you're 20, and with Nicole, and I know how I'm behaving or how I'm feeling is not right, and eventually you've got to say, I need help. I need help. And the only thing that gets you out of that is to go and kind of own that and go and talk about it. Go and see a doctor for me, go and see psychologists, find out what was wrong with me and why. And I now understand what was wrong with me. You know, when my dad died and I lost my career, I've got a younger brother and a mum, and I thought I couldn't discuss that. I couldn't discuss that with them, and I wasn't allowed to be upset in front of my mum.
Yeah.
So I held everything inside, and I'd cry in the shower, for example, for 20 minutes in the morning, and then I wouldn't show emotion. And actually, that killed me for a long time. I mean, I was talking to somebody on Instagram last week, just a random person, put a message on, and I saw that they had two names on the profile, and I don't know why I never do this. I clicked on the profile and it said, this was my husband's account. He died last year. So I sent her a message saying, really sorry to hear about your husband. In the end, started telling me she's got two kids, 14 and 13. She asked me, what's the most important thing? And I said, that they speak. Whether it's to her, to a therapist, to a doctor, to their nan, to a cousin, you've got to get it out of him. Because she said it was a son as well that was quiet. You've got to get it out of him, because me being strong and confident on the outside when this was going on, which I still am now, I'm a confident person, I always have been, but dying, absolutely dying on the inside and screaming for help, but not knowing what to do, ruined my life for best part of 10 years.
Yeah. So when did Nicole come into your life? When did she arrive?
I was 23 when I met Nicole, and you know, I was very good at hiding what was going on for me. I'd sort of, you know, you might really, you can control it or hide what's actually you're feeling.
Yeah. I
was screaming inside, but I was fine on the outside, and I was working and I was building a company, and on the outside, my life looked great. But Nicole's very good at reading me. One of the only people that can. And it was a few years later, and I tried bits and pieces, and you know, and one day she said to me, Joe, you've got to get over this. And do you know what? I laughed. I don't know what happened that day. She said it to me, and normally if somebody said something like that to me, I went ballistic, or I wouldn't talk to them. I'd walk away. I'd shut down. Yeah. I laughed. And I don't know why I laughed, and I still remember it now. And I laughed, and I thought, she's right. She's right. And that her making me laugh sort of broke something in me. And I went and saw my GP first, and then I was assigned a therapist. I did lots of different things. I went into rehab at one point, not for the drug addiction, then more my mental well-being, because I had to break so many years of holding back and mental just not being well. With probably severe depression or bipolar is probably what I had, they think. Although they never medicated me. Well, they did for a period, but not for long. Breaking that wall down and knowing that I have to speak. So I still have to do that now. If I don't verbalise how I'm feeling most days with somebody that's like me, not Nicole, it can be Nicole, but sometimes it needs to be somebody that's on the outside.
Yeah. I
end up in a bad way eventually. You know, I repair myself quicker now. And I never want to be back to where I was in my early 20s. But I know I can wake up and feel like death, you know, without anything happening, and I can wake up and be a bundle of energy. I just got to find that level that's right for me.
Yeah. So as you've just said, then you know you wake up and you're not in the greatest of positive mindset when you wake up. What what happens and what do you do to get yourself back into the mind frame of you can do this? You need to get up and you need to crack on with the things you need to do.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I was suffering a couple of weeks ago. I've been okay during the lockdown. I thought the first 6-7 weeks I enjoyed it. It was a bit of a rest from work. The weather was nice. That makes a big difference to me.
Yeah.
Being active, I have to stay active. If I don't train, if I don't run, walk, that definitely helps me. But it was a Monday and I woke up and I thought, fucking, I won't swear.
It's okay.
What is this all about? What is going on? I was tired. I slept. I'm a good sleeper. I slept all night. I was tired. I slept for 3 or 4 hours in the day. And I felt exactly the same on the Tuesday. And then at Tuesday night, about 11 p.m, I thought, I've got to sort this out. And that's where I decided to do the podcast, really, because I needed something to keep my mind occupied.
Yeah.
And to make me wake up. So the Wednesday I got up. I normally wake up early, so I'm up at like 6 or 7. I went for my walk. I make sure I eat well. I make sure I talk to people, because when I felt like that for those 2 days, I never answered the phone. I don't reply to text messages. I don't look at emails. You can't get hold of me. I literally disappear.
Yeah.
So Wednesday, I made sure that I spoke to the people I need to speak to. I said to Nicole, I want to do this podcast because I need something to do and I'm feeling a bit, down. And there's no reason. So when Nicole first met me, she probably wanted to know why I felt down. What was the reason? What had someone done? There isn't one. It's just how my mind works. And once you understand that, you can change the way you feel, not all of the time, but you can help it. And I think, like you said, if you understand your mental illness or your illness, I don't like the word mental illness, I prefer the word illness, right? So, but if you understand your illness, you know how you can understand it. So you can sort of manage how you're feeling or your reaction to people. We're not perfect. Yeah. And sometimes I'm going to be moody because I feel like shit. But, most of the time I can then go back to that person and say, I'm really sorry. They don't have to understand why, but I'm really sorry. And that's important to me, that I apologise for that. But it's opening up, saved my life, is what I would say. Not everyone's like me. And for a period, I was on medication. So I was on there for about 6 months. I took tablets when I was about 28. And I didn't find they helped me, actually. I don't like taking medication. So I needed to find another way around it.
Yeah. So do you more like of a physical way to help yourself rather than just taking that one thing that supposedly makes things easier?
Yeah, I mean, for me, yes, but I understand for other people, no, right? So I've got a number of friends with similar illnesses to me that I speak to. I like speaking to people like me, actually, because I feel like you kind of understand each other. There's no judgment.
You're on the same vibe.
Yeah, there's none of that. Just get up and sort your life out stuff. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't have that. But some people I speak to wake up and they want to kill themselves someday. Do you know what I mean? And so I like talking to those people, and that balance. And you need to be careful. I don't, but other people, that you don't over-exercise, because that can be a problem. Do you know? So that one's not a problem for me. I just like them endorphins, because they kickstart your brain a bit for me. Make sure I don't eat bad food. Bad food, I can eat loads of it.
Yeah. Can't we?
Yeah, and if I'm mentally unwell, I can eat 2 large Domino's pizzas. So things like awareness around, if I'm eating pizza, normally I'm not feeling that great. So it's that kind of awareness around it that keeps me going.
Yeah. So did you feel when you was younger and in school, and obviously when you had your first injury, did you feel like you were surrounded by the wrong people?
No, I'll tell you what happens when you're at school, and you're at school. When you're good at football, you get away with stuff. People like you because you're good at football. And I was good at football, and I had a famous dad. So, at school, it wasn't hard. I always felt like that I didn't like anyone, or I had friends because I had to talk to people, but really I didn't really want to talk to them. That's how I always felt until I was about 30. Where I'm quite a people person, but at school, I never felt like I fitted in. So I'd be friends with that group and the football team, and I'd be popular, but I could have just gone home and never spoke to anyone.
Yeah, yeah, I know exactly how you feel and
Yeah,
how
and,
that experience.
yeah, and it's kind of putting a mask on, isn't it, for other people, I suppose. But I definitely I felt like that, and I was always good around when I in teams. I still am around groups of people now. I think that's probably my talent. I'm exceptional at talking to groups of people. Like I can change my not my mood, but I can change what I talk about depending who I'm talking to. It's a skill I've got, really. It's enabling. That's how I've made money. So, you know, that's where I've made my business. But, you know, I was always good in teams. But once I got injured, I didn't speak to anyone. Not anyone.
And did people bring concern to that? Did people realise that there was something wrong?
Yeah, I think people realised. My mum definitely realised at that time. And you know, when about 6 months into it, I did see the football club's GP, but I wasn't ready to. Well, I was young. I still had a lot going on. I wasn't ready to admit or tell people the truth about how I was feeling.
Yeah.
I didn't understand how I was feeling. And, and looking back, I made so many mistakes. But I suppose that was just part of me, my path. Do you know what I mean? So, but it's okay now.
Yeah. So did you ever feel, have you ever had a time where you would have a really positive moment, you know, you maybe get a really good deal with someone, or you think, yeah, you know, I've really got my goals today for calls, accounts, money, and then would you ever have it flipped and and then kind of go into a negative?
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I've always felt like this, the money side of the deal has never bothered me. That doesn't make me feel better, you know. Like obviously we're on this show and we're wealthy, but that side of my life, I don't care. I really don't. It's just it's part of work, and it's where I've been lucky, but it doesn't make me feel good. But getting a deal done, it didn't matter whether I was selling a can of Coke at school for £1 when I bought it for 50p, or I was selling a football club and I made 3 million. It didn't make a difference. It was getting the deal done and the details of the deal that I like. The talking to you now, that type of part I like. Get a big buzz from it. Once it's completed and you get paid, not that bothered about the money, and then I'm bored.
Yeah.
So I go from like bang, and I then need the next thing. But you know, sometimes it take me a couple of months to be able to get to that next thing.
And what would you be feeling within them few months of, you know, you're then eager looking for new things? What's going on?
I can't. So probably where my ADHD kicks in, I really struggle to concentrate on one thing for more than probably the way I speak as well. Speak fast, jump back. I struggle to think about and concentrate on something for a long period of time. So I'd always be looking for the next thing. And what I'd kind of feel like after something was done and I had that high, I feel like, what's next? Where Nicole would be going, well, you've made this, you know, there's this amount of, you know, you've done really well. And I'm not bothered by that. I don't know what it is. I wish I was, but I'm not. It doesn't keep me content. I like to be busy, and it doesn't matter whether it's making money or not. As I've got older, I've started caring more about, well, how does that make me feel? How can I make other people feel better? Can I improve other people's lives? Because that makes me feel good. And I enjoy that. Like I enjoy talking about this kind of stuff. Like in the past, I've had people that have worked for me or worked with me and said to me, you shouldn't talk about this stuff. I've always spoke about everything that's gone on in my life. Because I'm not ashamed of it. I ain't ashamed of it. And if by me talking about it, and I am successful, and Nicole is successful, we have a good marriage and we've got 3 kids, and on the outside, my life looks fantastic, and people do know actually he's gone from being a drug addict. Do you know what I mean? So, and a bit of mental illnesses to where he's at now. Well, maybe that I can help somebody that's like me that isn't talking about it.
Yeah.
And that's what I find at the minute, and I have done for about 8 years, really important.
Yeah. And obviously, did you watch This Morning today?
No. What happened?
So Arj was on.
Oh yeah.
Talking about his addiction, you know, his past. I didn't watch it. I just saw it on his Instagram. But I think in life we all have them moments where were at a really bad point, and then to, you know, whether it be years later or weeks later, to kind of stand there and hold your hands up and say, yeah, I needed help. And, you know, I got to a point where I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to speak to. You know, in my position, when I went through a really bad time, I was just more of, I didn't know who to trust. So for me, trust was a big thing, because you'd tell one person one thing, and then it'd get twisted, sent, you know, told to another person, and then that person would come to you and be like, and everything would just get so twisted. You'd then kind of realise, well, I might as well be telling a completely different story, because it's not as if anybody cares, because no one's actually understanding what I'm saying.
I completely agree. And for me, it was also, I didn't want to tell people because then I'd be scared of what they thought or how they judge me, or would they be worried about me all the time? Would they tell somebody else? And you know, you found this young where you've sorted it out and spoke to people. When I got to the point where I just didn't care what people thought, what they thought about it, how I felt was more important, and me being alive. You know, because there's probably been times where I've never done anything, but was so depressed that I thought about killing myself maybe, and that's more important. My family are more important than what anyone else thinks. I couldn't care less anymore.
Yeah,
and that's come with my age, really, but also probably with my mental well-being, where I'm mentally fitter, where I can cope with life.
Yeah. How did you find the whole fame situation? Did you struggle with that at all?
No, I didn't, because I had a father that was famous. I've never really had a life that isn't. You know, I'm not famous. I wouldn't say I'm famous. You know, my dad was famous, and now my wife's semi-famous, or more famous than most people now. I'm just her husband. People know me because of business, and I've tried to buy a football club, you know, in the local area, and I've been in the newspapers and stuff. But I wouldn't say I'm famous. I don't get recognised, although I did today. I've got no problem with that. I mean, I said to the guy that he come up to me, this guy down the park. If people want to come up to me on the car, we'll talk to them. I'm not going to be that person that goes, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up with a father that played for Man United, and I know what it's like. I've got kids, and when they see somebody that's famous, they want a picture or they want to talk to them, and don't, you know. And how nice is that someone wants to come up to you today and say, "Oh, you're Joe Sealey. Oh, I don't watch that show, but my wife does." When you know he does, but you know, and and your dad was listening. And I was like, yeah, he's great. You know, I love it. So I like that side of it.
Yeah, I only asked because when I started out, and you know, I've been in newspapers and magazines, and kind of had that well-known personality. I always struggled with it, because although there'd be the really positive, you know, yeah, you're in the press, you're in magazines, you know, you're being, you know, people, all these photographers are taking photos of your events and stuff, and I'd be like, yeah, that's amazing, but then for me, it's turned into normality. I'm used to it, and then when I come away from it, I'm like, I feel like that's someone else. It's like I don't realize that that's actually me. You know, I think one thing me and my dad realized was I've met over 100 celebrities.
Wow.
You know, going on 200 celebrities, and every time I've met someone, you get the little instant buzz, and then after about 5 minutes, it goes, this really just is another normal person.
Correct. I mean, what you just said is so correct. So, like, for example, when I was a kid at school, people would say to me, "Oh, what's it like having Les Sealey as your dad?" Because my dad at the time was really famous in football, for Man United. He was really famous, and I'd be like, "It's just my dad. That's his job." You know, because I was used to my dad saying, well, "Football's just my job. It's just a job. He went to work and he got paid for that job." So, but to other people, it's a big deal. But actually, we're all human beings, you know, and we all bleed. You know, it's no different. It's just, well, now my family are on the TV. And before that, I was known for work and selling my company. And my dad was known for football. So it doesn't make anyone. Nicole says this a lot. No one's better than anyone else. We're all the same. So what's the difference? It's just work.
Yeah. And so has the show affected you? Is it made you more business? Is it kind of made more attraction to things, or?
Well, I think what's a bit different to our experience, and well, more Nicole than me, really, is that COVID happened when the show happened. So she, the stuff that you would normally do, I suppose, like going on Loose Women and GMTV, and hasn't happened, which she was booked for.
Yeah.
But social media wise, she's gone from 600 people to over 20,000 in 4 weeks. And that's strange. That's strange because people are then, you know, I've been around famous people all of my life, but I've not been around famous people when there's been social media, say. Everyone has an opinion now. So they can say what they want to you via social media, which I don't mind. You put yourself on TV, and you can't say something to me when you're opening your life to the world.
Yeah. I do totally understand that. Obviously, on the Real Housewives, the official Instagram, you know, some of the comments, some of them can be really brutal and be really, really harsh. And I know there's a Facebook group called the Real Housewives of Cheshire, and I think there's about 7,000 people in it. Okay. And people will just go for people, and I'm not sure. Did you watch the show before you come on it?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I watched the New Jersey one.
All right, okay.
So I've watched that from the start. It's the only one I've ever watched. But before Nicole went on this, I watched every episode of every series. So within about 10 days, I'd watched all 11 series. Because I thought, well, if we're going to do this, we better know
who people
are. Yeah, what's on it and what it's about. Because, you know, one thing we want, well, I've experienced in life is you better be prepared for whatever. And that was preparation. Plus, I love the telly. So I like watching TV. So that was
my only question is that.
Yeah, you don't raise to it. You ain't got to allow yourself to it. And I also think that if you, and I said it to the director and people that run the show and Nicole when they were all sitting there, if you decide to do this, you are opening your life up to everything, good and bad. So you can't let it affect you because no one made you go on the telly.
Yeah.
Once you're on it, people are entitled to throw shots at you. So I don't mind that. I don't mind it. In fact, I talk about it on the podcast. We have they hate us because they ain't us section where we read out horrible things that people have written on Instagram about us. Yeah. Right? So, because I don't mind it. It makes me laugh because I kind of think, well, it's their opinion. And I couldn't be bothered taking 20 minutes to write an horrible message to someone on Instagram. I just think I ain't bothered about it. I'm never going to do that to anyone on Instagram because I just am more in my life maybe, or I just ain't that person. I don't want to tell you something bad about yourself. I just would rather not tell you nothing. So I kind of take it with a pinch of salt, and I think some people want a reaction so they get more followers, because if you react back, they can, especially on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I just think ignore it and laugh about it, because it is funny.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I do understand what you mean. Yeah, but as you said, I do agree with, as you said, you kind of putting yourself in that situation, and in a way, it's expected to get responses that aren't the greatest from people, but also you can get a really good response from people.
Fantastic. We'll tell you what, we've probably had 90 to 95% positive feedback from people. Nicole gets some really, really great messages every day. And what I have noticed is when someone does put something bad, people will argue with them.
Yeah.
And she's had great support. I think she's done a great job on it, actually. I do, better than I thought she'd do. I thought she'd be good on it, but I think she's been really good on it, and I watch it. And there was an episode where I said to her, I don't know how people are going to, the dinner party episode, I said to her, I don't know how people are going to take that, and actually, because we're quite honest to each other, I'm not going to lie to her. I'm not sure how that come across. But actually she come out from it well. But that's part of the show. Would you do a reality show if somebody asked you?
I would, yeah.
I think you'd be good.
Yeah, I just love that kind of thing. I love the whole environment of it. of, I don't mind putting my life out there because it already is out there. So if someone said to me, do you want to go and do a reality TV show? I'd be like, yeah, why not? It doesn't really make a difference. It's just a camera crew that's going to be following me. It's not much difference to me.
No, I completely agree. And the opportunities it can bring, as long as you're strong enough, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. If you're going to go out and, if I'm going to go out and drink drive, it ain't a good thing.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't do. But if you're going to go and do stupid things that you're going to do anyway, then you shouldn't go on it because it's going to come out and it's going to be national news. But if you try and live the best life you can, and as I said, we're not all perfect and people do make mistakes,
Yeah.
you haven't got a problem, have you? So, I think as long as you own your miscomings and mistakes, you say, well, I did do that and this is why. No one can say anything. If you hide stuff, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, because you've risen to that and gone, you've given a statement in a way to.
Well, if you pretend you're perfect, all the time, and then something does happen, David Beckham had the affair, they're going to knock you down eventually, So I'm not a perfect person. I've had all of this stuff going on in my life, and I'm happy to talk about it. Nicole's a much better person than I am. She lived a much better life, not had nowhere near the issues I've had, and I don't know how she hasn't, because she had quite a difficult upbringing compared to my upbringing, which was like 2.4 children, really. I had good parents, good jobs. I never went to private school, I went to decent schools, and I had a brother. I had no issues. They weren't divorced. They were together since 14 years old, and I ended up with loads of issues. Do you know what I mean? So it isn't also how you're brought up or where you've come from. It's actually what's going on in here. And maybe I am a believer, Oliver, that I was born with it, and things in life can make it come out or, progress or get worse because you can't. But I'm born with the way my brother has never had any of the issues. None. Normal. What I would call normal. None of that. He's not as outgoing or as hyperactive as me. He's calm and he's had none of it. None of the depression. He was fine. So same upbringing, same parents, same experiences, different reactions. And that's because of the way my brain works.
Yeah. So when you was going through the time, obviously you took to drugs and things like that. What did your mum say to you and your brother? What did they say?
I think at that period, everyone was just worried about me and it was impossible to talk to me. And what I learned is that, and I do this now, if somebody's got a problem, I'm happy to talk to them. Yeah. You can't help me, right? You can't. With that problem, you can't help me. I'm the only one that can help me when I want to quit. You can't stop them. You can lock them in a room for a week. But until someone's ready to go, I'm not well, right? And addiction is a mental illness. It's in them. It's official now. So it is. People suffer with lots of hundreds of addictions. It can be anything. You can be addicted to anything. All mental illnesses, with that are the same. And until you're ready to go, I've had enough. Help me, or I need help. It ain't going to end, as you know. You know what I mean? It's like I can get myself into trouble and then say I need help, but it won't be all right until I'm ready to commit to what I need to do.
Yeah. So I know you did touch on some things earlier, but what advice would you give to people?
I think my biggest piece of advice is if you feel anything, you speak about it. I don't care what that is. My experience was that me not speaking at 20, 18, whatever, nearly killed me. And I can feel as I talk about that earlier, Oliver, I could stop myself welling up and crying.
Yeah.
Because even now I think, oh, how did you not just? I had a lovely mum that would have cuddled me. Do you know what I mean? And I never did it. Open up, speak about your problems, how you're feeling, because people don't always know how you're feeling. And people that you're speaking to might have had that experience. And sometimes that experience is a life changer. And you speaking about it, it changes your life, changed my life. And for me, it was that. I never had ones where I take tablets and stuff too much. So, but speaking about it and dealing with my issues and being open and honest changed my life.
Yeah. And I think everyone that is that you're surrounded by is very proud of you for getting the help.
Thank you.
Because I'm proud of you for opening up. I know it's hard to,
Yeah.
to talk about things, because I've been through through dark times, and it is hard to admit that, you need that little bit of extra help.
It is hard. It's really hard. But once you do it, and you've done it once, as you experience, as you know, changing schools, finding the right place where you fit, and talking to people about what you're doing now, it's life changing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, because people, especially people that was involved with my life and maybe your life at that time, they totally understand why you did certain things, why you thought certain things. And in my case, I've created much better relationships with them people, when in time I absolutely hated them and I don't want to be near them.
Yeah, I felt exactly the same as what you just said. You literally read my mind.
Very rare I do that to people. Well, thank you so much for coming on today.
No, it's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it. Anything you need, Oliver, let me know.
Yeah, I do really appreciate you coming on today. Well done for speaking out and telling your story. I'm proud of you. We're just going to spread even more positivity.
Fantastic. What you're doing, Oliver, is amazing. Any help you need, you let me know, yeah?
Brilliant. Will do. Thank you so much.
Cheers, pal. God bless. Bye, mate.
Bye.